lesson 4.8, using the quadratic formula, example 3. In our third example, we're going to look at the quadratic equation negative x squared plus 4x equals 5. Again, square root's not an option because I have that 4x term in there. I could try and factor it, or I could use the quadratic formula. In this case, I'm going to move everything over to the right side so that I end up with a positive x squared coefficient. So I'm going to add x squared and subtract 4x from both sides. That's going to give me positive x squared minus 4x plus 5 equals 0. I could try and factor it. Since my leading coefficient is 1, I could use the easy method. Two numbers that multiply to give me 5, add to give me negative 4. I'm not going to be able to find any that work out that way. Therefore, we're going to move right to the quadratic formula. We're going to say x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. That's going to give me 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus, so there's one negative sign in there, 16 minus 20, which is negative 4 over 2 times 1, which is 2. Continuing to simplify, that's going to give me 4 plus or minus, I see an imaginary number here, so I can pull out the I, make that positive 4 over 2, which, as I continue, will be 4 plus or minus 2i over 2. I'm going to break this up into two fractions to see how I might be able to continue simplifying. And when I do, 4 over 2, that is simply 2, plus or minus 2i over 2 is simply I. In this case, we see two imaginary solutions, and that's because our number underneath the square root when we simplified up here was negative, which is what produces the two imaginary solutions. So we've seen three examples. The first example had two real solutions, the second example had one real solution, and the third example had two imaginary solutions. At this point, I would like you to go ahead and try the guided practice on page 293, 1 through 3, and I'm going to give you the answers here so you can check yourself as you go. The answer to number 1 is 3 plus or minus root 5. The answer to number 2 is 3 halves. The answer to number 3 is 1/2 plus or minus I root 115 over 10. I'll say that again. 1/2 plus or minus I root 115 over 10.